Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I hope you're having a good time wherever you may be in the vastness of space, the galaxy, this glorious world and planet we live in, universe. Today on the show, we've got a returning guest, Thomas Ray. Thomas Ray is a fellow Oregonian. It's really an honor for me to have him on the show again. And last time he was on here, he went into some pretty deep subjects, and he's got a lot to share, and he's got a lot to say, and he's got a lot of love to spread as well. So, Thomas, welcome to the show, and I can't wait to hear some more of your enlightenment, my friend. It's always good to have a fellow Pleiadian on the show.
Well, thank you so very much again, Larry, for having me back on. I do much appreciate it. Allowing my voice to have a spreading of wealth of greatness is a pleasure, and I appreciate having this moment.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure having you on. You're going to have to forgive me and bear with me here. I was on a 3-hour radio show earlier, and just getting over the flu. My voice is a little hoarse, and mine's a little frazzled. So I'm going to count on you, big guy, to take us through the night on this one. And why don't you just kind of get into expanding a little bit more on your message as far as, I know the last time you were here, it was real intriguing, and I can't wait to hear it. So here we go.
Again, thank you so much. I'm going to project myself into the realm, per se, of what I am in tune with, and that's what I want to share with the rest of you folks that have a ear to hear. I frequently take visitation with Pleiades on a pretty consistent basis, at least maybe once a night, sometimes every other day, but most definitely every other day, if not every day. I'm taken, as you would say, and they bring forth me messages all the time. And now I have a mouthpiece to use that, and I would like to just maybe start this as a beginning chapter with you folks and Larry of making steps of making a better enlightenment of yourself and of life, and maybe having a new projection of how you're interpreting your Pleiades experience that you may be having, or even life experiences that you're having, of making a better connection with yourself, your soul, your chakra, straight through, and making yourself prevalent and relevant so you can move through life without the baggage of life on your shoulders. Like myself, I carry a lot of the world upon myself. I'm a very caring, loving, honest person, and I project that every moment of my day. And I would like to be able to start with those steps if I could, Larry, and maybe start this as being an understanding of Pleiades a little bit better to your listening audience.
That sounds great to me, and I'm looking forward to it. So the platform is yours, as they say.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm honored.
You're welcome.
Good evening, and I am Thomas Ray, and I would like to speak of what lessons I have been taught and of how to make of myself of a whole being, of a human, and my messages start from the beginning. I myself have been through life of bumpy roads, and my first encounters with Pleiades, I was 7 years old. I spoke of it a little bit in the first show. I was in the woods on a camping trip with my family, and I was off on my own. I was a Forest Service child, and so a compass was my best friend, and never get lost. I was taught how to use it at a young age. It was a Christmas gift from my mother's husband's family, or his father, which was a Forest Service worker as well. So it's kind of like a family tradition, I suppose. And I was often always trying to find myself lost through the woods. And, people may, say 7 years old in the woods. I'm from Oregon, and this is my backyard, is the woods. So there is no boundary or fence line, per se. And so I was on one of my ventures through my day, and I could hear of a deep soft, man, it makes probably no sense with an oxymoron, but a soft, deep, thumping sound that was drawn. It was loud, but was softened. And you feel the vibrations through my body. I could feel from my frontal lobular cortex, which is your forehead, right down to the soles of my feet. The vibration was intense, and I was just drawn to it. And by being in this place I was so familiar with, the woods, I was not familiar with any kind of animal that could make this sound, or a bird, or wind through trees, or water over rocks. It made no sense. So I just continued to try to find where this noise was coming from, and I was taking closer and closer, and then I came across a craft, per se, if you want to call it that. I mean, to them, it's their home, their vehicle, their lodging point. They use a lot of these different units, or are housed with areas of leisure, per se, not for sleep, because the sleep is really not even an option in this other realm. It's just something we've accumulated as being humans. But they do have points of relaxation. And so, point would be, I'm digressing somewhere, and back on point is that I was drawn to this enormous craft, and as I was drawn to it, I was greeted by these people that looked, pretty much like elders in my world. I was 7. They looked like bigger adults. And now knowing their size and character, they were probably 8, 9 feet tall at least. And they were of a beautiful stature. They were perfect. They weren't fat. They weren't thin. They were just of a perfect build, with just a perfectly symmetrical, beautiful face, ominous. Sort of, if you've seen the movie Avatar, sort of Avatar-ish, I would say. Very platinum blonde hair, which is really ironic, because that when I had hair, my hair color is blonde. I do have 2 children, and they both have platinum blonde hair as well, which is kind of odd. But with blue eyes, as myself. And so maybe divine, who knows? But we'll get to that at another step in the conversation. But I was meeting with these people, and they were very loving and very nice. And I noticed that when I would speak out my mouth to them, it didn't really matter. It was more what was going on in my head. And as a child, I was very inquisitive, always wanting to know how something worked, how it went, what it was. I was always known as, a person that asked many questions. They call me motor mouth. I spoke a lot, asked a lot of questions, what was going on. And it didn't seem like anything I was saying audibly really mattered. They didn't really answer to what I was saying audibly. But the things in my head, they were answering. Because in my head, I was saying, are you safe? Are you cool? Is everything kosher here? Am I in trouble? Is everything okay? And they're assuring me the whole time that things are great, and they're really happy to see me. And I was just like really taken that they were happy to see me. It felt as if I was seeing my grandmother, which is my best friend, and still is. But I just felt so comfortable and so awesome. It was amazing. I mean, as a little kid, it kind of felt like when you're up in the swing and you're at the highest pivotal point of the swing, and your stomach drops as you come back down. It was that feeling, just of greatness. And they asked me to go along and follow with them. And as I did, I looked down, and I wasn't even on the ground. I was about 3 feet above the ground. And I, in the physical, was like, this is crazy. This is different. And in my head, I was like on top of the world. I was like, this is what I've always wanted to do. I had always an infatuation with David Copperfield and magic. So I was like, this is what I've always wanted to do. I knew I could do this in the way I thought. And so I was pretty much okay with everything. And then we made ourselves to the bottom of the craft area, and we were in this thick blue light. and we were then put upon inside the ship. No steps, no hold, just light, and then before I knew it, we were inside of a ship. And it had big windows around the whole thing, everywhere it seemed. And what I was more intrigued at was the front window where the most of the people were at, and looking at the window, and we were no longer in the woods where we once were. We were already upon our way. And they were asking me where I would like to go. And I had lots of crazy ideas. As a kid, I wasn't very toy-minded. I didn't like toys. I didn't like my generational thing of G.I. Joes or comic books, or I wasn't into that kind of thing. I was more the inquisitive. I had a telescope at a young age. At that 7, I already had a telescope. My grandfather had gone for me, so I was always intrigued with the stars and the constellations and keeping track of the moon type of thing. I've always had a thing with the moon. I kind of refer to her as my girlfriend a lot of the time. And I was immediately, when I asked them, is that, could we go to a planet? And they were like, sure, And we're at this planet, and it was blue, and it was Pluto. And I was like, I just didn't understand. I mean, I just had thought about it, and it was here, but it was explainable only because I was okay with it. I wasn't defensive over it. I was very okay. It was like, sweet, we're here. All right, where's my Kool-Aid and my peanut butter and jelly sandwich? We're good to go. And exploring that area, just learning what's on that planet, learning the people that inhabited it and why they were there, and and things like that, and the discussion on that briefly is that there is life in every planet that we know of, and in this planet, these people are of a colder-blooded species. They're not quite humanoid. They're they're not animal per se. They're just a different being. It's very hard to explain, only because at that time I was very young, for one, and for another, there's been too many experiences in different scenarios and not a repeatedness of being back at Pluto. Because Pluto's not relevant within my realm of where I am been placed and what I experienced with the Pleiades. And so, I know a lot about the planet Saturn, and how Karma is essentially the queen of Saturn, and she has a planet of primarily females, and they're very beautiful and amazing women of power and intuition and those great qualities that women have. I mean, qualities that men will never ever understand or even fathom or even have a chance to have those abilities as women do, because women are amazing, amazing humans. We'll just call them humans, because there's really not a word for what we are. We have books that tell us what we are, but those are books. And so just from that experience and being on Pluto, I then wanted to see, like I spoke about before, is the dinosaurs, because as a kid I didn't have a thing for dinosaurs, but I did like the Flintstones, and I always had a thing for the Flintstones. It was cool. And I always thought it was kind of odd, because Fred smoked the same cigarettes as my grandfather did too, so that was kind of a correlation I had too.
Yeah.
But, just going there and being there, as we got back to the planet Earth, when there was dinosaurs here, they showed me within a couple, probably 3-4 stories, above the dinosaurs, and they were kind of lined up, and they kind of showed, hey, here's who we are, welcome to where we're at, welcome to our situation, basically. And like I spoke about, I got to pet these things and talk with them, but not, with not audibles. There are some animals in our present, in our past, that we can make certain noises that simulate happiness. Purring is actually one of them, like cats do purr. And it's a positive, but also an aggressive noise that cats do to make sure that the people or objects or whatever around them know that they're appeased or maybe dismayed. So, digression here. But back to what I was saying is just being at that moment and learning at that young age of what was then. And they just showed me a lot of really neat instrumental things of time, of how this planet has been around. This planet is 16 billion years old. That's with a B. And this planet's been through several situations. I mean, we're on our fourth moon, which is not technically, we call it a moon, but it's technically a planet that's inhabited by the same types of people that have been there for a long time. A lot of them have been kind of forced there. And that's another subject too, is that the Zeta Reticulates, primarily live on the moon. And they're really, some are benevolent. I can't say that word too well. Some are non-hostile. I just use it that way.
Right.
Some are very much not liking us. And they are Zeta, but there are also different sorts of Zetas. There's also Zetas that live within the core of our Earth, or the crust of our Earth, not the core, because there's different people that live in the center of the Earth, but within our layers of the Earth, there are Zetas that have been enslaved for a long time, and they've been forced to live there because they're not allowed to leave the where they're at, the caverns are where they've been designated to live. And so there's just lots of really negative BS. And here's what I'm getting to in this point of my mini presentation, is that we all question these people of other radio stations or other shows that have the same show week in, week out, and they speak in these hyphenated tones.
Yeah.
And they speak up very openly broad subjects of the repeated performance. And what I would like to do is break that barrier down and bring to you what the Pleiades message is there to bring, and that is, there is a Galactic Federation, and the Galactic Federation is brought to us by reptilians, Zetas. I mean, there's 286 species of what we call alien that live amongst us, okay? So there is a collective, a consortium of different ideas, and we have all one ideal. And there are a few within the mix of it that don't like us very well, folks. And they have unfortunately taken this planet hostage, and they have learned to manipulate far beyond your fathom, and you continue to live their negative because you haven't yet learned to step outside of your own. And that's what I want to bring in steps of, to you, of steps of making yourself inner reflect for a better peacefulness into our next transition into this age of Aquarius that we're into, that we're being accelerated very quickly, because there's a lot of really big issues coming down through the Galactic Federation. And that's primarily with the Pleiadian Talk I want to speak of, because they want us to be encouraged to be open, to open our hearts, our third eye. I know the pineal gland has been destroyed in 99% of you out there by drinking fluoride, Floretta, and I understand that, but you now need to find it within your soul, in your heart, in your God's mind, in your God's heart, to open up and quit being bonded by this evil empire, by your brain, the great manipulator. Allow the brain to be no longer of your hostage negotiator. Let your heart and soul speak through. And that means to start telling everybody the message. Just like we did about God and how he had a son of Jesus that was risen, that was, put to the cross and then risen. We need to make the same story, but in the new generational form. We need to go tell upon every mountain that there's a greaterness that we deserve, and it's all within us. We have the abilities to be the common, and the common is to be caring, loving, and honest. And if you really be honest with yourself, you know that you're a liar, and you know that you need to stop living through it. because it takes away from your love and your caringness. Think about the last time you paid it forward to somebody, or have you ever paid it forward to somebody? Have you actually given something of your very least that you had to something or someone else because they were in more of need than you? I take a chance and say that probably 90% of you haven't, and that 10% that do, there's probably only 5% of that doesn't even full-heartedly. So only leaves 5% of you that really does do it. So I challenge that 95% out there to step it up and quit patronizing yourself, to the point where you're submitting to your TV educations and to your rumor education. It's time for you to become I. And I is a very beautiful, wonderful person. And that is you. You are I. Make yourself relevant. Live through yourself of being glorified through His name, through your name of who I is. With losing touch of oneself means that you've lost your own way of walk. You have to make of your walk. You can't shadow of a walk. You can't walk in anybody else's shoes but your own. And when someone says of us, well, you haven't walked a mile in my shoes, well, really, who cares? We have our own walk. And our walk is just as valid as any other walk. And we need to start being relevant to that and not saying, well, somebody else has it worse than me. I'm just fine. Well, sorry, but you're really not. Or if you're one of those people that are, poor me, I'm going to go eat worms BS. Or maybe you're the in-between those two people that think that you can be the good guy, bad guy. Oh, I understand. It's all right. But look at me. I'm better than that. I'm sorry, people, but we really need to start finding that our path is what we make of it. It's nobody else's fault but our own. And the Pleiades tell me this in great positive ways all the time. I myself have lived through very, very difficult times, and the personalness to it is that I have defeated major health problems because I have allowed myself to be set free. Okay, and I can sit here and pour my pity upon you and tell you these bad things that have happened, but those are not the important to you. It's the life experience that I had. And I even will quote scripture. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful piece of scripture. It's in Psalms 18:16. And it says in the Bible, it says, humble thyself in sight of the Lord, and He shall set you free. Are we really even thinking about what that means? It means if we're humble, we will be free. That's an amazing feeling, to think that we can be free. Free of pain, free of anguish, free of anything negative, anything that has an apostrophe T behind it. Oh, I won't, or I can't do this. That's a bunch of BS. See, BS doesn't have an apostrophe T, does it? So you see here?
No. No, but it's very apropos.
Thank you. And when it comes to is that we are all enlightened. We just have to flip the switch, folks. We have to actually get the charisma, stand up, walk ourselves, sit over to the wall, and flip on the switch, and there it is. It's right there. And if we want to give praise to the sun, give praise to the sun, because without that you have nothing. You would have nothing. And you take advantage of it. And you allow this governing that you live in and have conspiracy go over it. They're spraying our skies, so they're cloudier. We're not getting the vitamin and what we need of nurturement of the sun anymore. So everything that you might listen to or read about, those all have to be taken into perspective of what we are right now. They're spraying us and they're poisoning our foods because they want us to be dumb. So are you going to continue to be that statistic? And I choose not to be. I choose to be relevant. I choose to be a caring, loving, honest person. To be a beautiful, wonderful man. And not take not one single day for granted, not one single second. And the Pleiades tell me that by me being this way will help me be of a better greatness in the later life that I will have. So with having the major health problems of, I'll tell you straight up, a brain tumor, and then I had colon cancer, and then I have a heart condition, and now I have a pacemaker refibrillator in my body. Okay, folks? I lived through pain. Okay? I mean, I understand that there's hardships, but even with those downfalls that I've had, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Because I chose it not to be. I chose it to be a point where I would stand up and I would be accounted. And I would continue to volunteer in the towns I live in by coaching sports or being a mentor or whatever it was I was needing to do to feel fulfillment. If that meant when I lived in Vermont, going out after a blizzard, after it snowed for 3 days straight in 6 feet of snow, I shoveled snow for 30 hours with only a break here and there. No exaggeration. I did the math. I shoveled over 200 feet of snow, friends. And I did it because I wanted to, okay? I didn't have to, because it snowed another 2 more feet. So it really didn't matter that I did it. But I did it because people still need to walk down the sidewalk. People still need to get out of their house. We get food, whatever needed. I mean, just the other day, Larry, I was walking over to a friend of mine's house, and we played cribbage. About every other day, I go over to his place, and we sit around for a couple hours, play cribbage and backgammon. And as I was walking through the neighborhood, I come to my next road. I have to turn down on a major road, and there's a freeway, I-5, right in front of me. And I can see a cop on the left side of the highway. Well, here in Oregon, you're not allowed to, if you're broke down or breaking down, you're not allowed to exit and fix your vehicle on the left of the road. It's just not safe, these things. So I'm thinking, why is this car on the wrong side of the freeway? This is kind of scary. I mean, not the wrong side of the freeway. They're on the right side, but they're on the wrong shoulder of the road. So I'm standing there waiting and watching and watching. I notice it's a woman, and she's not talking on a cell phone or nothing. In fact, it looks like she's trying to fix her tire from where I'm at. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'll give it a few minutes. Maybe she's just evaluating it. She's waiting for a tow truck or a husband, boyfriend, son, somebody's going to come and save the day. Now, the only thing that's keeping me from going across is a three-wire barbed wire fence. And because you're not allowed to, here in Oregon, they don't like you using any accessibility from another road to the freeway unless you're using an on-ramp. So I'm just standing there watching, and I'm thinking, man, no one's coming. And she looks kind of distraught. She's standing back away from the vehicle, gesturing a whole lot. So I figured, you know what? I'm going to find a way over there. So I walked down the fence line, and I can't find a spot to get through. So I just pressed down on the wire as hard as I can, which I'm a pretty big, burly guy, and brought the wires down and crossed over and walked over to her vehicle. And she was very nice. She was very appropriate for the situation. She was distressed. And I put on a spare tire for her. Okay? And the whole time I did it in this very sharp rock. My knees were bloody. My hands were bloody because she didn't have the proper jack or the jack wand to raise it. I had to use a bolt that kept the spare tire down to twist the jack up. So I was pretty messed up, and I get it all together, and I get her on the road, and I give her a few dollars so she can get some, whatever might help her out in any way, maybe something to drink or eat or towards a new tire or whatever. And I sent her along her way, and she took right off. And so I just stood there because one thing had happened that I just could not understand, and that she left me with not a thank you. And that's kind of the premise of this step that I'm talking about. Is that we need to start recognizing these things of when we see somebody in distress, we need to be there for them. And we need to be there thankfully, without thanks, because we know that did something better for the best. she did tell me she was on her way to go see her son in Eugene. So, well, that's great. So I helped her make a reunion. That's great. I'm really glad I got to do that. You know, and with the person I play cards with, you know, he's a disabled veteran. I take him Pepsi. You know, I don't have to do that, but I do that. You know, these are things that I'm illustrating to you because these are just the simple little things. You know, and as I made my way home that night, you know, there was an elderly couple and they were locked out of their house because Grandpa was too silly and locked the keys in his car. And she kept on saying that you shouldn't be driving. So I had to spend a good 2 hours trying to find a way into their house, which, Larry, I am 6 foot and 300 pounds, and I don't fit very well through a bathroom window.
Yeah, I can relate to you there, man. Yeah. Yeah. No, I bet not.
So we got all that?
Yep.
All right. My mic was showing me that I wasn't on, so I was just making sure.
Yep, we're still on, man. We're still live and in living color and in living sound. Yes, from the Oregon Pleiadian connection. Yes, we're here, man. Anyway, yes. So anyway, as you were saying.
As I was saying, all right.
You got the hey, so you got to see that couple. They were locked out of their house.
Yeah, so I mean, that was just one more thing that I gave myself to do for my mankind, to pay it forward.
Yes.
And
Absolutely,
I just
man.
want to emphasize is that when I go through my levelings with Pleiades, the message comes to me as if it's a challenge. They're asking me, what is it that you're willing to do for your greatness? And within this, you know, it's like when we go to heaven, when we pass through this life that we're in, you know, there are 3 levels we go through. And through those 3 levels, you know, we experience a lot of really bad things. And the first 2 levels are pretty nasty with the demons, you know, because there are demons amongst us. They are here. They're very real. Satan is real, you know. And we just, how can I say this? We just need to start our path to righteousness and let those negative thoughts, which are demons, trying to intercept upon us, upon our enlightenment. And see, if we can, you need to immediately take fluoride out of your life, immediately. And you need to find yourself a major vegetable lifestyle change. You know, quit eating breads. That the high concentrations of sugars are destroying so many valuable things that our bodies are being suppressed to being able to use. It's unfortunate because most of us still have been raised on fluoridated water, which killed our pineal gland, which is our third eye. You know, I'm very fortunate that mine's probably in pretty good shape because I grew up in the woods. I grew up on well water.
Yeah, I did for a lot of my life too. So it really, we're fortunate, a lot of us here in Oregon, for sure. But you're right. I like what you said about going within the soul at that point. I mean, you may have your pineal gland a little bit crusted over, you know, at this point, but you can still go within and find what you need.
Right. And by taking steps, you need to take the steps within yourself that are encouraging the next step before you had to even make that first step. You have to think about your third, fourth, you know, and never a final. There's never a final step in life. Life is built upon progression of positive paths that lead up. To descend yourself is to submit yourself to the evil, to whatever it may be, to whether it be that you're submitting yourself to alcohol or to, you know, drugs or whatever it is that's evaporating your internal soul in your body. This is a temple, my friends. This body is a temple. We have to respect it and love it. And I mean, I know what you might be thinking, well, you just said, you're 6 foot and 300 pounds. Well, I'm 300 pounds, my friends, because of all the health problems I've had. My thyroid has decided to take a leave of abstinence, okay? And so, I mean, trust me, if I can get down to where I want to be, I would love to be that size. And no, I don't eat poorly. I'm probably one of the most healthiest 300-pound men you've ever seen. According to my doctor, I'm quite impressive, as they would say. And so we just have to make each step a positive step and make a challenge to yourself. Make a plan and make the plan upon making steps of realizing who you are, of writing down maybe 10 things about yourself you don't like, and then writing down 10 things that you like about yourself, and then write down another 10 things that you love about yourself. And then when you take your first 2 lists of things that you don't like and the things that you do like, and you match each one of those things up to each other to see which ones sound pretty much the same, then you take those things that you do like about yourself and match them with things that you love. And when you match those things up with what you love, you'll find who you are. You will find where you're missing and where those links at that you need to find the missing link and make it that whole. It's simply making the steps when you wake up in the morning that you look yourself in the mirror and you tell yourself that you love yourself. Because even this big ogre, Thomas here, he looks at himself every day and tells himself that he loves himself. And every time I see myself in a reflection of a window or in a rearview mirror, it doesn't matter where I'm at. I tell myself that I love myself, that I'm beautiful, and I even tell myself I'm sexy. All right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
That's the first step that you need to make when you get yourself going for the day. And then you need to put something in your body that's going to nourish you, that's going to let those certain endorphins being put in through your body to let certain molecules in your brain expand and not be polluted with nothing. Because Adreno is not, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Adreno is kind of fun. Makes you hyper, gets you going. But Adreno can also wear down on very important body parts. The brain primarily can release certain pheromones in the brain that makes points where you can't rest, where you have restlessness, irritation, aggravation. So then in your mind, you're already making an excuse, which is considered a lie, which isn't an honesty, So with that plan of getting yourself up and making yourself, nourishment, you got to start there. And then making your next big step of making your entrance into the public or into your day, or whatever it is that you do through the next 12 hours of your day. But through those steps, you want to make it to that next point of nourishment and making a positive walk to that point. And that's stopping as you leave the house to say hi to your neighbor and that they look nice that day, or tell them it's a beautiful day and that they have a wonderful day. Then that's what you got to do, man. That when you see somebody, even somebody you don't like, smile at them. Maybe not to talk to them, but smile. Give them a genuine smile. Let bygones be bygones. What they do? They didn't steal, rob, kill, harm you. The worst somebody could have done to you is talk poorly of you. Well, if they've done that, then obviously maybe there's a misunderstanding somewhere. Maybe you're the jerk because you've allowed that to escalate to that point. So maybe there should be a point where you just bring the bridges back down, put down the drawstrings, make a union again, find out where it went wrong, start something new, and stop lying to yourself. And I'm going to pound that a lot if Larry's going to let me talk, because that's important right there is don't lie. Lying is the biggest issue we have in humanity. Time magazine came out with a couple of years ago that said Americans lie every 4 words. Every 4 words.
Oh, I believe it. Unconsciously, we just regurgitate it. It's crazy.
Yeah. So we're going to perpetuate negativeness. Another lie. Woohoo! That's awesome. So we need to start personally making a challenge to ourselves to be truthful, to be honest, to be caring, loving, and honest. Okay? And so by the time you get to that nourishment point at noon, 1 o'clock, whatever it is that your halfway point in your day is you need to feed that body to get that soul re-energized so you can bring that smile back, so you can bring that honesty back, so people can appreciate you, so you can love what you do for who you are. Because you're the most important person in this whole wide world. And even with being a parent, I'm a parent. Larry's a parent. A lot of us are parents out here. But we have to love ourselves more than we love our kids, guys. And that's a reality. So if we can't love ourselves, we can't love our kids the way that we need to love them. And that's the truth. Because the people that love kids... Excuse me, Larry?
I said that's the truth. That's a hard reality for a lot of us to face, but boy, that is the truth.
That's right. And we can't be our kids' friend. That's malarkey. We got to be their parent, which is a lot more important than being their friend, folks. Okay? Friends are for people that we bring into our lives. And we brought a child into this world, yes. But there's a big difference here, folks. We need to instill into them values. And so, back to what I'm saying here, is that we got to be honest, man. We got to bring it back. Quit watching your TV. Turn it off. Call the cable company. Say, turn this thing off. Because we are meditatively living through TV. We are reenacting what they put out there. If you look at the situations you concur upon your day, and you see your little group of friends, how often do you sit back and say, such and such is a lot like this guy on TV, or she's a lot like she is on TV? Well,
all the time, man.
That's right.
All the time. And you don't realize till after you quit watching TV, like I did for the most part a few years ago, you don't realize exactly, you don't realize exactly that that's what you do, too. You're living that kind of life.
And you're living a lie because that's what they want you to do. They want you to be able to be okay with lying so they can continue to lie to you. And that's exactly the point, is that we continue this America thing to keep on telling us to pay $4 a gallon for gas. But see, but we're so lazy that we don't remember that when we started this silly thing called the war that we're in, whatever, that they told us, remember, Americans, if gas gets above $100 a barrel, you know, that's when we're going to hit trouble, because that's when gas will get to $1.50 a gallon. Gas per barrel lately has been between $98 and $103. So can you explain to me why you continue to pay $4 a gallon? And let alone, why are you continuing to drive a car so much? Is there something wrong with your Lamborghinis? You know, I think that we should do ourselves a favor and maybe be appreciative of what we got here, and that's the planet we live on. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to stand on this platform of global warming or climate change, because trust me, I do not believe that. This planet's been here for 16 billion years. It's been farting and burping a long time, okay? And don't think these volcanoes that let off these big extremities of gases coming out, you know, are just no big deal, okay? They'd put out a lot worse than the cars we drive. They just don't like to tell you that stat, okay? With the sulfur dioxides. So that's a whole other conversation in its own. But I'm digressing. So what we need to realize here is that we don't need to live a lie. The lie is that, yes, we can maybe walk to work, or, yeah, we can maybe carpool and become an acquaintance, or even maybe a friend, a real friend to somebody else, so we can be a better person, so we can be caring and more loving, so we can be honest with each other. So as you make your way through your day after your mid-afternoon lunch, whatever is nourishment time you're having, you need to continue through the rest of that day till you leave whatever it is that you're going to be doing before you go to relaxation mode. You need to carry on with that ideal that you're going to do the very best you can to be, you know, this person that you are inside. And you know that person. It's the hobbyist, it's the nurturing, it's the loving person, it's the outgoing guy or gal, or whoever's, you need to start being that pursuance of who that inner person is, that sports guy, that sports girl, that Mary Kay gal. It don't matter. But that's who we need to become, more prevalent of who we are and standing by who we are, not who we're being reflective as who we might be by someone else's, ideal of who they think they see you being, because you're reminded of something or someone that they know, somebody that you used to know. So then when you're done through your day and that 12 hours is gone, you need to come home and you need to reflect. And what the Pleiades have told me is that the reflective point is where not necessarily looking about your day of what you've done. It's the reflective of your inner self, of what all those motions that you got done doing all day long, of your nourishment points, and then your quality check, and then your nourishment point, and then your becoming point, as I was saying, from noon to quitting time. So now you reflect on those points. Those are the points that are important, because that's what made you the person that you are inside. That's caring, loving, and honest. And I'm going to say that a whole lot because you say it more than 3 times, you remember it. And so I'm really hoping that you will remember that you're a beautiful, wonderful person, because that's what you are. Because you need to believe that. Because makeup and Nikes don't make you beautiful. Yourself and your naked beautifulness makes you the great one. Mm-hmm. Just take this moment in your night, in your evening, and don't turn your TV on, and sit down in a maybe middle of your living room or a favorite spot that you got, and just sit there. Cross your legs and just breathe in your nose and out your mouth. And line your chakra points, keeping your head straight, right, and keep it right in line with your hips. And what Pleiades says is that when we put ourselves in a chakra point where all our chakra points are lined up, that's when our true inner light will shine. It's our spirit.
It sounds relaxing too, man. I think I'm going to try it here after a bit. Yeah, that sounds really just kind of reflective and peaceful and everything like that. Just find a nice place, no matter where it is, in your living room or a place in a spare room, and just reflect.
And maybe start taking notes, writing notes of things that you know that you need to start reflecting on more, that you're not doing at the moment. Maybe then something that you maybe need to do, like play with your kid more. Maybe get to know your neighbors better. Maybe join a group of some sorts. Make a new pal at work so you can go play cribbage. Whatever it is that makes you accounted as a citizen, because when it comes down to this point, you folks, when Aquarius hits and they bring the false prophets, we're going to have to know within ourselves that we are not going to be deceived. We cannot allow this, reptilian, group to come in here and bully us and take us over like they've already done. They've already raised your taxes. They've already taken away your liberties. They've already taken away your rights. I'm not turning this into a political stance. This is into a reality that you're living as a slave right now. And if you would read your textbooks from school, from the U.S. history, George Washington only wanted taxes for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Well, it's been 200 plus years, folks. I mean, we need to really get off our keister and start being accountable, because they're keeping you enslaved, and when we could be living of a great life with no debts, no monetary, no structural confiance, that you have to be this one way, you have to make money, you have to do this, you have to do that. No, you don't. No, you don't.
No, you don't. You really don't at all. The resources are all there for us to share in abundance, and people need to quit thinking it's some fantasy and just realize how great they are and understand that this stuff is all here for us.
That's right. And again, the reality that, yes, they give us things to pacify us that have that only last so long. So why would we want to continue to perpetuate the things that we have to rebuy again?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, that's an understatement. It really is, and just keep us hanging on and doling out technology in little small increments to us when everything we need is really right there. But they keep us locked away. They try and keep us manipulated from it, and we need to just understand that we can awaken to that and change this.
That's right. I mean, has anybody realized lately when you go to the grocery store, you can't even go get a bag of bread, okay, a loaf of bread for $1. You can't. It's Wonder Bread is $3 a loaf now. $3 a loaf, man. Okay, when I was a kid, it was like 30 cents.
Yeah, tell me.
And I'm not even that old, okay? I mean, I remember back in the good old days when my mom and I would go to the coast, and I'd be able to get myself an orange soda, a burrito, and my mom would get herself a beer, a pack of cigarettes, and we'd have a tank of gas on $10. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, we're the same age, and I can remember that kind of thing too. Exactly, So it hasn't been that long that this thing has just escalated out of nowhere. It's gotten crazy the last couple decades for sure.
And we've continued to do exactly what our post-depressionary and our baby boomer relatives have said.
Yeah,
It's okay. It'll get better. It's all right. It's not.
We've kept doing what we've always done, and so we keep getting what we've always gotten.
That's right. And that's what the Pleiades are trying to send through people like myself, the message, and that is that we need to quit being strapped by this man-made gridlock. We need to be unstrapped and be uplifted by our greatness, by our positivity, by our lovingness, by our caringness. Those are just the essential basic steps that we have to become to be free, and we have chosen to be stuck in this bondage. It's like we got a bunch of DS people, a bunch of S&M people out here or something,
It sure seems like that, man, and it sure seems like, yeah, exactly, and we're victim to masochism and psychos, and it's unbelievable, man, but I believe it because I've seen it my whole life like you have.
I only could hope that I could bring everybody that hears my message to a place where we can all meet together, so you can experience what I have experienced. So there would be no more doubt amongst your brains. So you can be set free of this bondage. So you can be uplifted, and you can be of like a greatness. And I'm not here to toot my horn, folks, but I've been told 90% of my life that I'm going to be a mighty man of the Lord. I've been told this by many people. My grandmother was one of those people. She just passed a few months ago. But she always said, Tommy, you're going to be a mighty man of the Lord. And then all I've gotten the rest of the way is, man, you're awesome, or you're amazing. I get amazing a lot too, Larry, and it does get a bit consuming, but it's nice to.
I bet.
But it is nice to be reassured that I am great because
well-deserved.
Right, and I'm humbled by it, and I'm free of all those glutton things in life. I don't allow myself to be by all the negatives because I've set myself free.
What is that old saying? I'm sure you may even heard it from your grandmother before. The truth, the truth. It's late. Forgive me out there. The truth shall set you free.
Right. Exactly. The truth shall set you free. And people just don't get those things anymore because they think those are just cliches, and they're not.
Yeah, exactly.
These are words of wisdom. And so take these words and use them accordingly so you can be great. Great is really not a bad thing. It's kind of an amazing thing because the more you find in yourself that you're great, the more you challenge yourself to be even better. And if you can get better than great, it's called being amazing. And I'm there, folks. I hate to say it, but I'm there. And so it feels pretty amazing to be amazing. And a lot of people say, well, how do you do it? How do you do it? Well, I say, how do you get up every morning? And they're like, well, I wake up and I get up. I say, well, that's what I did too. And so it's really, it's that
That's your
stupid.
big secret.
Yeah. I mean, it's
That is
that.
amazing.
It's that. It's right that in your face. It can see. We've been, unfortunately have been conditioned through books of illusions and TV of illusions and people's lies and exaggerated stories that these kind of things only happen in fairy tales, or these are things that only, and they're not. They're realities.
Yes.
Just like Larry and I we get something that we get to share that a lot of people don't get to see, and that's called the ocean, and it's an amazing thing, and it has mysticism to it that just takes you away to a whole nother place. And what I'm saying about that is that that's what you got to make life. You got to make life of your ocean that you haven't seen or have experienced, and embrace that awesomeness that it is, and become that awesomeness, because the ocean is huge. It's got plenty of room for the rest of us, so we must all consume and bring it into us and become like it is. Climb every mountain. Challenge yourself to a game of horseshoes and throw a perfect round. Just get out and make something of yourself instead of being a professional clicker commando or a professional sit around the house guy. Join a co-ed softball team during the summer. Join a bowling league during the winter. Do something that's productive. You know why Americans, Larry, have all these problems of tendonitis and arthritis? It's because they're lazy.
That could have something to do with it, yes. I'm thinking it's possible.
Because they're shutting down their herpes duris, which is a little muscle in the brain, okay? The little muscle in the brain only gets stimulated from exertion, okay? Exertion meaning in adreno. When we have to do something kind of rigorous, it sets off the adrenaline, so our muscles get all agitated, start moving. Well, the epidermis in the brain is a muscle that's excitable like that, and it releases. I know, like you're laughing when I tell this, but it releases THC, which THC is made in the body because it's a natural oil that lubricates our tendons, muscles, and ligaments. And so, with that THC, there's a cannabinoid, and it releases euphoric, great feelings. Well, if you don't exercise and you don't get yourself, moving around, that muscle doesn't work very well. That's why old people get arthritis, tendonitis, all those other negative,
all those itises.
Exactly. And so, if you want to continue to sit around on your ass, then you'll become nothing but an ass.
Yeah, it's true.
And I guess my other nickname is not only just amazing, but it's also Captain Obvious.
Yeah. I've been accused of being that before a time or two myself, but yeah, no, what you say is all valid, man. Truly so.
I'm just really hoping that after this meeting this morning that I can sit and I can write some things out and make further steps to helping the next person that's hearing this want to experience what I experienced, so they can be excited and be on fire. Be ready for this next moment in life, because it's coming very, very soon, Larry. The Pleiades have sounded the alarm. It's time to get ready to rumble, buddy. It's time.
Yep, absolutely.
And
that's what I'm getting to. So, yep, I agree with you. And I mean, that's not to scare anybody. It's just to kind of wake people up and let you know. Just be aware. Be aware at all times of what's going on, and think with use your heart center to think.
That's right.
And feel and love.
And love, exactly, and love. That's so important, because when this all comes down and these false prophets come down amongst us, are you going to be a sheeple? Are you going to follow the rest of them? Because, what are they going to give us? What are we going to get out of this? We better follow the rules that they're going to say, because if we don't, we're going to get left out of something, and we don't want to be left out. We're going to do like everybody else is doing, because if everybody else is doing it, it's got to be good. and that's not even true. So
Yeah.
we have to prepare ourselves for this next moment of consciousness. You know, and to help people understand what I'm saying by this is that if we were Larry and I are that generation of when we were kids. With some of you can laugh about this because you're probably older, but we grew up with was no cell phones. Okay, there was no Android phone. There was no, you know, communication devices. Pagers didn't come along until we were in high school. Okay, so
And even still, it was something you heard about some kid having in Los Angeles or in the big city. It wasn't. I didn't know a lot of kids, maybe a couple with a pager. Even then, you
right.
know, yeah.
So we need to remember that we need to go play in the streets, go crowd the parks. We need to hug our neighbors. We need to have dinner with our neighbors. We need to invite them over, open our arms and our hearts, and start becoming a public, a community, you know, built upon the collective of an idea that we are happy and that we are good people. But we can't sit in our house and talk on our cell phone and tell people that we're good people. You got to go out and show people that we are. Like changing the tire of somebody's stranded on the side of the freeway. Or go visiting that veteran that doesn't have very many friends because he has post-traumatic stress syndrome. And that you're basically the only person he'll have around his house. I try to get him out, but his car's broke down right now. And he doesn't like to get out very often. But I'm helping him by being a friend to him and loving him. You know, so we got to really think about our next set of steps that we're willing to make, because when it comes down to it, are you going to be there when we the Thomases and Larrys in the world are prepared mentally or whatever, mentally and physically, as you go to the lion's den and you start screaming for our help? So you're going to ask for help when you're in a time of need? That's going to make it kind of hard on us when we're going to have 1,000, 1 million more people just like you needing the same situation. And I'm sorry, everybody, but we can't save the world, but we can help you prepare for it now, though.
And you can be part of the program of helping to save the world. You know, I mean, the less people that we have to reach our hand to the lion's den for, so to speak, you know, and the less people we have to try to help on the outside as well. Okay, well, it looks like Thomas dropped here from the call. I just wanted to remind everybody, I appreciate all your support. I appreciate everybody tuning into the Cosmic Awakening Show with my co-host Michelle Walling, aired every Thursday night. And it looks like Thomas is back with us.
Yeah, sorry about that. My connection got disconnected.
That's okay. I was just giving a shameless plug for another show, but yeah. Why don't we go ahead and take that opportunity, because we're going to have you back on here on a very regular basis, and people are going to get to know your word very well. Why don't we take just a minute? And Thomas, is there any last few minutes of things you'd like to say to everybody before we go ahead and call it a night?
Yeah, I would just like to really iterate that let's make today our new day of you becoming a beautiful, wonderful person, and that you will become caring, loving, and honest, and you will take steps forward and leaps and bounds, and you will face this, this dreadful place that we're in right now, and say, the hell with it, and we're going to move on, and we're going to persevere, and we're going to start new ways, and not continue to perpetuate the negative past that we've pushed along so long. That big rock is getting really heavy. So I think it's time to take an old Pulaski to that rock and break it down and pave a new road with that big rock, folks.
Yeah, I would say like yesterday for sure.
Yeah, because there's a nice, good paved road back behind you there. Keep moving. Keep going.
Onward and upward, brother. All right, man. Well, it's been a pleasure.
Again, thank you so much. I appreciate everything.
And we're going to see you back again here this weekend, as well as many more time. So I hope everybody had a good time listening. And for Thomas Ray, I'm Rocken Larry Locken. You've been listening to a couple of Oregon Pleiadian contactees talking and sharing, well, mostly Thomas sharing his wisdom. My mind's kind of burnt out on a few shows I've done earlier tonight. So much love to everybody. And Thomas, thank you again. And I'm going to go ahead and edit this and put this thing up and see what people think.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Really do.
Much love, man. And I'll be back at you in just a moment.